Sometimes when we are troubleshooting or trying to resolve issues on a system, we end up having to use backups and restore information from the backup. Now, ideally, we never want to do this. Ideally, we never want to have a problem that's going to cause us to have to do this. But when we do have to do this, when that situation does arrive, we want to know that we have good solid backups. Now, Microsoft has included with Windows Server a tool called Windows Server Backup. I'm not a huge fan of it, but we're going to go over it anyway so you can see what it is. Now, Windows Server Backup, a couple of caveats to it. Number one, we add it using the add roles and features or in PowerShell. I've already done it here, but I'm going to show you where it's at anyway. So it's not a role, so we're going to skip that. It's a feature. And so we come down and we find Windows Server Backup. Now, I've already got it installed because I didn't want you to have to wait for it. The other thing we got to be aware of is the Windows Server Backup will back up to a local drive, removable, non-removable, whatever, and it will back up to a network share. So those are really kind of our two options for backing up using Windows Server Backup. So, and you can't back up a drive to itself. Even if you're not doing a full drive backup, if you're doing like a system state or something like that, you can't back up a drive to itself. So in this case, I've already gone in. Let me go to File and Storage Services, disks, and I've added in a second disk here. And I've actually named that volume backup. And you can see it here. If we go to this PC, we have the local disk C, and then I added on the another VHD and created a volume and named it backup. All right, now that I have that in place, now I can use Windows Server Backup. And we're going to go to Tools and Windows Server Backup, and I'm going to walk you through doing a backup here and then talk about how we can restore from it. So this comes up. I haven't configured any backups yet. And there are two different types of backups we can do. We can do a scheduled backup, so that's going to be here. I can set up a backup schedule, or I can do a backup once, which is a one-off backup. So let's start by looking at the backup schedule. So it starts the wizard. Do we want to do a full server backup or a custom backup? Full server, obviously going to snag everything on the server. If we do a custom backup, then we can select what we want to add in. So I'm going to click Add Items here, and I can set this up for a bare metal recovery. I can back up system state. I can back up Hyper-V, and here I'm going to have the host component, and if I had any virtual machines, I could back those up. The EFI system partition, the local disk, and then I can also come in here and choose specific files or folders on the local disk that I want to back up. So let's say I'm going to do a system state backup and then click next. And then I'd specify the backup time once a day, more than once a day. And then, is that set up at 9 p.m.? Yeah, I'll leave that. And then the destination type. So I can back up to a hard disk that is dedicated for backups. That's the preferred method. Back up to a volume. So you can do this if you can't dedicate an entire hard disk to it. So you divide up the hard disk into multiple volumes, or back up to a shared network folder. This is going to note that if you back up to a volume, you might have a little bit less performance out of it. So we're going to click Next, and we want to back up to, and we can show all available disks, except notice that I have already, there's no external disks or disks attached to USB. So show me all available disks, and here is the one that I have. It's the E drive that is available. That's the one that I put in that I can use for it. So there's my disk. Click Next, and then a little notification here, the selected disk will be reformatted, and everything basically will go away, and it will be used exclusively for Windows Server Backup from that point on. I don't actually want to do that. Notice a note here, the entire disk will be dedicated for storing backups, will no longer be visible in File Explorer. So this is how I would set up a recurring backup. And then it's just going to back up over and over and over again. And I set this for every day, so it's going to back up every day. Now, notice it does not give a lot of options here, like creating full backups versus differential backups versus incremental backups. It's really kind of limited in what we can do, which is why I'm not a huge fan of it. But it is the one that we have built into Windows Server, so we got to talk about it. Let's talk through creating a one-off backup. So that would be here, we'd back up once. And then backup options, schedule or use different options. What do I want to back up? Again, recommendations to a full backup. I'm actually going to do a system state backup. Click next. I can do this to a local drive or to a remote site. I'm going to do a local drive. And this is going to go to a volume rather than trying to write to an entire disk and just take the disk over. So I'm going to click next and we're going to click backup, and this is going to run our system state backup. So this might take it a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and actually it might be getting pretty close. But I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and we'll let this continue to run, and then I'll pick it up when it's done with its backup. Okay, so our backup took a few minutes, but we are now done. So I'm going to click close on our backup process. And now in our local backup, we're in our Windows Server backup main screen, we see that we have a local backup here that was successful. Last backup, next scheduled backup, view details of all backups. We have a total of one. This was the latest and the oldest copy. You can view details of it if you want to view the details about any of these backups. And then if you go to restore a backup, you would do that here using the recover. So I can recover this server or backup stored in another location. I can choose a selected backup date, the selected backup type. So I did a system state, and then where am I going to find this? It's going to be in the original location. And then system state, by the way, also backs up Active Directory, so that's why it's giving me this error. Contains Active Directory domain service, which can only be recovered when the computer is started in DSRM, Directory Services Restore mode. Okay, and I'm not going to restore it anyway, so I don't care. But that is the steps you'll walk through when you are going to do the backup or when you're going to restore. And when you do, you're going to have the calendar here, and you'll have multiple days, and you'll pick the one that you want. And what are the recoverable items within this backup? So this is using Windows Server Backup. Now, like I said, it's not my favorite. I think there are better backup tools out there, but at least it gives you an option for backup without having to spend any extra money or having to go with an Azure recovery option. So there you go. An introduction to Windows Server Backup.